Hey, you guys, welcome back to Reports on China. I'm Andy. Today's the last day of the Beijing 2022 Winter Games. But since it's Sunday, I thought I'd try something just a little different and sit down with you guys, grab a cup of coffee, and have a chat with you about the absolute mess that was the Western media coverage of the Games. So grab a cuppa, get comfy, and let's get reporting. Now, first up, I have a confession to make. I'm not really that interested in sports. Actually, when I was younger, I used to skip PE class all the time and I was terrified of rugby balls. I kind of regret it now, but what's done is done. Anyway, the point is, I really wasn't planning on following the Winter Olympics at all. That is until the absolute dumpster fire that is Western media coverage began blazing. It's been an interesting few weeks trying to highlight the hypocrisy, and oftentimes it has been quite taxing. But I've come to the conclusion that the coverage of Beijing 2022 is actually the perfect case study for just how deceptive, biased, and really unprofessional Western media is today. So it all began, if you guys can remember, when that Belgian Olympian broke down in tears after realizing that China wouldn't let her go and see her girlfriend in the Olympic Village after she tested positive for COVID on arrival in Beijing. Do you guys remember how she cried on Instagram, knowing full well that Western media would pounce on the story and use it as ammunition against a dystopian China? Well, she even admitted afterwards that her video really worked. Hmm. Kim finished a paltry 18th and she was nowhere close to taking home a medal. Maybe she just needs to work on her mental stamina before she considers trying again to become an Olympian. To be honest, I'm kind of surprised I wasn't called homophobic for criticizing her on this show. I was, however, labeled misogynistic by the Australian Strategic Policy Institute and a bunch of Western journalists for daring to criticize a group of Asian American journalists who were pumping out biased report after biased report on the Games. That Australian think tank, which everyone knows is funded by the arms industry, called for their followers to report my Twitter account and have me suspended. A South China Morning Post reporter who, not surprisingly, lives in California, told me to delete my tweet suggesting that anti China Chinese American journalists, Melissa Chan, Sui Wei Li, and Amy Chin, need to have a long, hard think about their reports and how they're stoking anti Asian hate crimes. He said I was trying to silence Asian women. Now, make no mistake, these guys know full well that criticizing women isn't necessarily misogynistic. And they know full well that I wasn't trying to silence Asian women. But they do know exactly how to push the identity politics buttons and create this kind of uproar over nothing. Because in America today, the media, they're pushing this idea that criticizing someone who happens to be gay is homophobic, criticizing someone who happens to be, I don't know, black is racist, criticizing a woman is misogynistic. That's exactly why the majority of US reporters sent to cover Beijing 2022 this time are women with Chinese names, because these media outlets know that most people will be afraid to criticize them for fear of being labeled this or that. Thankfully, though, I live here in China where people call a spade a spade. Sorry, you guys, but your obsession with identity politics doesn't work on me. That Australian think tank and a bunch of Western reporters appear to have reported my Twitter account en masse, forcing the app to give my page a warning tag: China state affiliated media. Now, this is quite a big thing, believe it or not, because I'm the first foreigner ever to receive such a tag. I received lots and lots of messages of support following Twitter's move and thousands of new followers. The thing that Western media hacks don't quite understand yet or realize yet is that ordinary people are absolutely sick of their tricks. A tag that shows I'm in opposition is like a badge of honor. And trust me when I say I'm wearing it with pride. Now, do you guys remember that Dutch TV reporter who purposefully entered a restricted area, baiting volunteers in the hopes of creating some dramatic footage that the Western media could use to show how evil China is? Well, it turns out he's used the exact same trick many times before. Sure, if I were that volunteer, I would have seen straight away that I was being lulled into a trap and let him finish his live stream before moving him on. But not every volunteer knows these childish games that the Western media plays. Take a look at his face. He cannot hide his joy when he realizes his trick worked. This is not the face of a scared reporter being repressed. This is the face of a joker nearly reaching climax. Western audiences have this idea that China is a repressive, scary place. So Being able to create stories that reflect that go down well with audiences back home. When the truth gets out, though, it's another story. US Olympian Aaron Blunk dropped a truth bomb when he praised the organizers of Beijing 2022, telling the media that reports back home are false and that this is probably one of the best Olympics he's ever taken part in. But what happened next? His Twitter account was closed down. This is Western style freedom of speech. You're free to say what you like as long as you say what we like. The same goes for Western journalists on Twitter who constantly harp on about freedom of speech, while at the same time closing down or restricting comments on their own Twitter feeds to stop anyone who disagrees with them from voicing their opinions. Some even went on blocking sprees, like that creepy BBC reporter, Stephen whoever, who, when asked by a Twitter follower whether he would consider reporting facts and not his emotional opinions, went on a bit of a blocking rampage. I'm warning you, he told the netizen and others who questioned his questionable reporting style. He then appears to have had a mental breakdown, calling names and swearing in his tweets, despite the BBC instructing their employees to not post anything online that they wouldn't feel comfortable putting in a report. One good thing has come out of the Western media coverage of the Olympics, though. They've had to finally admit, having seen it with their own eyes, that China's doing a pretty amazing job fighting COVID 19 within its borders. Now, nearly 450 people arrived in the Olympics bubble with coronavirus, and they were dealt with so effectively that cases plummeted. Athletes and volunteers have remained safe, and Western media are now not able to lie quite so easily. The Wall Street Journal, they were forced to report that China's zero COVID policy holds lessons for other nations, and other media have followed suit. Okay, you guys, I think I've gone on long enough. It is Sunday after all. The Beijing 2022 closing ceremony is tonight, so keep an eye out for more negative reports from your favorite Western media. And also prepare yourselves for the dystopian kind of I was too scared to say this while I was in Beijing exposes that will no doubt come out in the coming days. Let me know what you guys think down below, and I will see you all next time. Bye bye.